they call Paul the Prophet Dawalibi, the CEO for Holodeck Ventures, as he tells us how gaming and metaverse is driving 10 times growth. Paul, the stage is yours, my friend. No pressure.
Thank you so much. I used to do stand-up comedy. I love having a stage. But following advice like get screwed early in life and having a presentation right before lunch, this is about as bad of a setup as can possibly be. So I'm going to try and keep your attention. I'm going to try and make this interesting, try and keep the energy up before lunch here. But I want to talk about fun today. I'm all about fun. I only do stuff that's fun. And at the core of it, I believe the future is fun. And while it's great to hear from the last 40 years of retail, I like to think about what the next 40 looks like. And I think a lot of it has to do with fun. That's what I hope to convince you of. So who am I? Because I don't come from the retail industry. I'm not an icon of retail. But I spent 20 years in venture capital. I own a company called Holodeck, which is a big holding company and media company around gaming and metaverse and Web3 stuff. I also host a show on CNBC Arabia called Game Changers. If you're interested at all at the end of this about gaming and metaverse and want to follow the industry and what's going on there, I highly recommend watching that show. I'm at a retail conference, so I might as well plug my book too, Metaverse Dream, which is published by Asseline, and talks about the metaverse and my view on the metaverse. So that's me in a nutshell. I have a question to start. Does anyone know what was the preferred entertainment activity for Gen Z? I'll make it specific to Gen Z in 2022. Just yell it out. Not TikTok. You guys are onto it. It's not TV, it's not movies, it's not shopping in malls, it's gaming. It is gaming. And that should make you take pause. Something's happening there. Right? This was, at least when I was growing up, I'm old enough to know, this was something you did in the basement and you didn't tell girls about. Gaming was not the thing that was on the news, was not the thing being talked about at conferences. So something's happening. There's a change that's taking place. And I think the world is changing. There's a revolution that's been underway for a while now, probably about 20 or 30 years, of gamers now growing up and having money to spend and gaming becoming a big industry, that this revolution is now starting to make it to the forefront. And the revolution at its core, I think, is driven by one thing. That gaming, if you define gaming as the creation of virtual worlds, and therefore would encompass things like metaverse, gaming is getting to the point where we will no longer be able to distinguish between what is real and what is not. Our brains, our simple ape brains, will not be able to tell the difference. And I think that will be a very transformative moment. Many, many industries, trillions of dollars of industry, will be disrupted by this. And I think it's gaming that's going to bring about this change. Now, if you ask me what does this future look like, I'll give you my view in a second, but Hollywood and Steven Spielberg sort of did it for me a few years ago. If you haven't seen this movie, it's an okay movie, but I think depicts an interesting view of gaming's future and our future as humans in general. I'll play just a minute or two of it, but you can see here what they think this future, this gaming and metaverse future looks like. I hope this works. It didn't work. Is there some way to play this video from your end? Okay. If not, it's okay. You guys will all have to go rent the movie or watch the movie somehow. I could. No, this is not. We're too far now. It's okay. Don't worry about it, guys. Thank you. Anyway, so let me describe it at least. There's the scene in the movie where he puts on a headset, and if you watch the Apple announcement, the Vision Pro, it looks a lot like that. He puts on a headset, and he disappears into something they call the Oasis. And the Oasis is sort of this aggregation of virtual worlds, experiences, games, environments, clubs, casinos, you name it. Everything you can possibly think of from a life and entertainment standpoint exists in this Oasis. And in this Oasis, you can be anyone and basically do anything. Now, I think that's an interesting view of the future. Clearly, we're working towards that, considering the movie came out in 2018, and Apple now has a headset that looks a lot like what was in the movie. But my view of the future and why I called my company Holodeck is, and does anyone, raise your hand if you know what this reference is from? Okay, nobody. Wow, I'm not at a gaming conference. Okay, one. It's the Star Trek reference. And the holodeck in Star Trek, this is important, was a room you could go into, and you could ask the holodeck for anything you wanted, any reality. You could say, I want to go skiing in the Alps. And the holodeck would turn into the Alps. You'd have snow under your feet, it'd be cold, you'd have skis. The holodeck became reality, and your brain could not tell the difference. Now, it might scare some of you, hopefully not, but I promise you, you have my personal profit guarantee. Human beings are going to invent holodecks. It is coming, and it's coming within all of your lifetimes. I know because I'm funding many of the companies building the technologies, but this is happening. Holodecks are going to happen. And what does this mean for humanity? What does it mean for retail? What does it mean for business? Well, if I give you a room that you can create any reality you want, and it's indistinguishable from the real world, I think this opens up a huge amount of possibility, and I think I'm underselling it. Gaming, with the invention of holodecks, with the advent of holodecks, becomes the future of everything. We will live plugged in. We have no reason to exist in this meat world when the holodeck can create any reality we want. So I would argue, and again, I hope it scares some people, this is a bigger human development than the wheel, than the light bulb, than the printing press. This changes humanity fundamentally. But here's the problem, and here's where I will try and make it specific to retail. You've been lied to. Probably half of you in the room have been lied to. I guarantee you, most of you have heard about the metaverse before. Raise your hand if you have. Keep your hand up if all you heard about it was like Sandbox, Decentraland, some Gucci activation in the metaverse. Is that most of your knowledge of the metaverse? Okay. Here's the problem. You've been lied to. Let me tell you what the opportunity around gaming and the metaverse is not. It's not crappy 3D websites that are just versions of your existing website. It is not that. And I'm sorry to anyone working in the metaverse in the room if I've offended you. It is not NFTs that no one wants. Sorry to all the crypto people in the room that I've potentially offended. And it's not a piece of land or a building that no one uses and no one goes to. It's not that. That one I offended the COO of Sandbox directly on stage before, so that's okay. I don't need to apologize. So what is it about? What is the opportunity? Well, fun is the killer app. Fun is the killer app. If you retain nothing from everything I've said, if you just think my shoes are cool, please just retain this. The metaverse is gaming, and these things are about fun. And the future of retail, in my humble opinion, not as an icon, not as a legend, is that the future of retail has to be fun. Has to be. Because you're competing against fun. Think about it. If your competition is the holodeck, do you think anyone cares what the merchandising at the front of the store looks like? No one will care. And so, why should you care about any of this? Let me at least give you some context about why I think this train can't be derailed. It's the most lucrative customer acquisition opportunity in the history of retail, just to start, in terms of going after gamers and going after people who will inhabit these virtual worlds. There's no more lucrative customer acquisition opportunity for retail anywhere. And as retail, I think you have to meet customers where they are. You have to speak their language. These are all important things. And there's a shift in attention that's happening and has been happening that, again, if you buy what I said previously, you need to care about. 1 billion people will be plugged into a metaverse within the next 10 years. I would argue that's a pretty big market to go after. If you have kids, they will spend 10 years of their life, at least. I think this is consultants being conservative. They will spend 10 years of their life plugged into some kind of virtual world. And if you have kids and you've ever tried to get them off Fortnite or Roblox or Minecraft, I promise you they've probably already plugged in. Now, 25% of people will spend at least an hour a day in the metaverse by 2026. Again, I listened to the presentation about Dubai duty-free. Think about how many people that means passing through a place where you can sell them stuff. The opportunity is big and the attention is shifting. Now, gaming has gone mainstream. Let me debunk myths for all of you. 96% of Gen Z and millennials are gamers. It's what it is. Everyone games now. It's not just for nerds. It's not just for awkward teenage boys in their basement. Not that I would know what that's like. But 89% of Gen Xers are gamers. 50% of gamers are female. This is not men only. And 47% of gamers are also parents, which means they have money to spend. Now, more people watch video games than Netflix, HBO, ESPN, and Hulu combined. This is not even playing the games, this is watching the games. I mean, 100 billion hours is a big number. That's what just YouTube gaming did in terms of content watched, and that's in 2020. Gaming influencers today, the #1 type of influencer in the world. This was a YouGov study. They are the most influential, they have the highest engagement. And maybe most relevant to all of you, gamers have money to spend. This is actually a study my company commissioned. 74% of gamers said they would pay more for top quality media and entertainment products. 85% said they would pay more for consumer electronics. And 73% of gamers said they'd pay more for food and beverage products. They have money to spend. The top bullet's the most important. If you play 10 hours or more, if you're that kind of gamer, 10 hours or more a week, you have 2 times the disposable income of non-gamers. This is a lucrative audience. But this is just the tip of the iceberg. I said there's a revolution coming. This is all accelerating. It's going in one direction, up and to the right. Now, the opportunity for retail, and I could probably spend another hour just on this, I put it in 2 big buckets. One, and this is short-term opportunity. This is not even the 40-year or even 10-year or 15-year opportunity. This is the today opportunity. Reaching gamers in the metaverse and in games and building a new customer base. This is something every retailer in the room can do immediately. The second bucket is gamification of retail. Like I said, making it fun. I give talks to the finance industry, to the tourism industry, you name it. There's no industry on the planet that can't be made better by fun. I don't understand why banking can't be fun. Shopping should be just as fun. Now, the benefit to retail, there's a lot of them. Again, don't have much time to sort of dig into these things, but the customer base, the customer engagement, the customer loyalty, these new revenue streams around digital and virtual goods. But I think that bottom bullet point is maybe the most critical. I'm sure, again, I haven't been going to retail conferences over the past 20 years, but I'm sure the common theme has been sort of brick and mortar under fire for the last 20 years. And I think if we're thinking about how do you mitigate that threat, I'm sure over the last 20 years, a lot of the discussions around building experiences, making the store somewhere you want to, go with your friends, it's a destination. But I would argue that having fun there, making that retail experience fun, is maybe the most powerful way to mitigate sort of the threat to brick and mortar. Now, what are some of the things everyone should be doing if you think you want to participate in the gaming and metaverse and do some of the things I talked about? Knowledge. It's always step one. Educating yourself, understanding where gamers are, what platforms they spend time on, talking their language. The gaming community, the 3 billion gamers in the world, I promise you, as lucrative as they are, they're a fickle bunch. If you come at them and you don't understand them, this is worse than doing nothing. So education is critical. And I think you're competing for attention. So again, that fun factor has to be at the core of everything you're doing. So in summary, the metaverse equals gaming equals fun. These three things are the same thing. This audience, this gaming audience, is the most untapped, lucrative audience on the planet. All of you have the opportunity to go after them. Gaming in the metaverse has the opportunity to significantly boost retail, to help it, if you address it properly. And the focus has to be on fun. That's my time, guys. I left 4 minutes, for questions, just in case. I love questions. Yeah.
Do you want this microphone? Oh, okay.
You're doing an amazing job, Katie.
The metaverse genuinely scares me. Like, I would like to, I've got nephews that watch people play games on YouTube, but the metaverse, I'm like, I don't get it. I still don't get it. Like, do I go into a mall and try on my clothes in the metaverse? Like, why?
Yeah, it's a good question. No, it's a good question. But this is why I said this is what the metaverse is not. It's not just a digital analog of the real world. If all we do is recreate in a worse way what we can do in the real world, I think we've missed the point. The promise of the metaverse is the ability to create experiences that are actually impossible in the real world. And I think this is where everyone gets hung up. It's easy to just say, okay, the Gucci store that we have on Fifth Avenue, let's go put it in the metaverse. And no one shows up, and you go, well, why? Well, it's obvious why. It's not any better, any more fun, any more of an experience than the one on Fifth Avenue. So you have no reason to go there. And this is why I say fun's the killer app. It's what is the driving reason to get people to do something? And I think fun is maybe one of the most powerful motivators. It's so ingrained in who we are as humans, this dopamine hit we get from when we do something enjoyable or pleasurable. And I think the metaverse is a virtual world, yes, and that could be games, but it could be other kinds of virtual worlds that are detached from the limitations of the real world, that can create experiences you can't get anywhere else. I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, I just sort of want to know why. Like, if you can give me an example, because I guess, I could go into the metaverse and visit the rainforest in Amazon.
Yeah.
Right? But I could also, in theory, go there myself.
It's really hard.
Yeah, true.
Have you tried? It's not like an easy thing I can just sort of get on my couch, roll into the living room, and do.
Yeah.
And so I think there's an accessibility sort of point to be made, which is the metaverse opens up experiences to entire populations and groups of people that would never be able to have those experiences. And I think that's the promise of gaming in general, right? Like gaming as a form of entertainment. Look, I would have loved to have been an NBA basketball player. Clearly it wasn't in the cards for me. But gaming has this accessibility angle where everyone participates on a very equal footing. And I think the metaverse shares that same promise. I would wish on everyone to be able to go visit the Amazon and be able to experience it the same as if I was there. And not everyone can. And so that's part of the promise of the metaverse. But I think there are experiences that if you and I sat down and brainstormed, we could probably think about that are so crazy and so out there would put the Amazon to shame, would not even be that interesting. So I think there's an exercise of creativity that hasn't happened yet around what the metaverse can be. Yes?
I'll just come over to you with a microphone. By the way, you could have been an NBA player with those sneakers.
Thank you very much. My name is Mohammed Galal. I am from representing a company called TSM in Egypt. Well, I'm very happy with what you just presented, and I just want to tell you that we in the shopping centers, brick and mortar, we realized how important is gaming now. And we, TSM, are launching the very first pioneer physical gaming hub in a shopping center in Cairo. It's going to be open in December this year. It's on 40,000 square meters.
Wow.
It includes 2 arenas. It has an e-gaming academy and a hostel.
I think it's really smart. Look, very smart. Round of applause for that, guys. I mean,
So
this is...
We realize that shopping centers are dying.
They are.
And
except in like Dubai, for some reason.
the turnover is much lower because of the online sales.
Yeah.
So those large, huge dinosaur buildings that we have built over the years will have to be used for something else. And using them as offices, which is now the trend, is not right because you've invested too much in those and you still need to have physical retail. So as you mentioned, now this industry, the e-gamers are everyone. They are in our homes. They are our friends, our sons, our cousins, everywhere. And we're doing retail also next to it. Because as you mentioned, there are retailers at the end of the day, they need to eat, limited, because they waste a lot of time on the games, and they need to wear clothes also. And I don't know if all of you have visited around some of the Pull&Bear, the Bershka, even the Zara, and everyone, that you will find a special line made for e-gamers with their logos and
Look, they're huge consumers. I'll give you 2 quick anecdotes because I know I'm out of time and everyone wants to eat. The biggest gaming convention in the US is actually a convention called PAX, and it started out as a convention for pin trading for gamers, and comic book aficionados. So you could buy and trade pins with your friends. Like, consumerism among gamers is higher, I would argue, than any other demographic. I think what you're doing with the mall is brilliant. A few years ago, when GameStop got in trouble, and they're still in trouble, but you know the GameStop stores in the malls that no one goes to, and it was pumped up by Wall Street bets and the whole stock thing. I told Tim Cook I think Apple should buy GameStop, take over all the GameStop locations in the malls, and turn them into Apple Arcades, which is actually an Apple product, where you could just go in and play games on Apple iPads and things and turn it into a whole experience. I think reusing mall space for gaming centers as a draw, brilliant. Every mall should be doing it. I think it's really smart.